وأشهد
وأشهد
أن محمدا
أن محمدا
رسول الله.
رسول الله.
I bear witness
I bear witness
that there is no God
there is no God
except Allah,
except Allah,
and Muhammad
and Muhammad
is his final messenger.
is his final messenger.
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir!
We're going to have more people that will try to emotionally terrorize us as well, to where we don't want to go to our masajid anymore or be too publicly and visibly Muslim. All that is going to happen. But I'm going to say to you exactly what I felt in New Zealand. They don't hate Islam more than we love it. They don't hate Islam more than we love it. They don't hate Islam more than we love it. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Those who love Allah, love Him more, and are motivated by that love more than any other pursuits that could possibly exist. And you know what? Instead of falling into their lowliness and trying to fight back in the protest and letting them intimidate and incite, let's give them more to protest about. Let's make them matter. Let's continue to insist on our community's progress and on the progress of the country as a result of that progress. Let's out-organize them. Let's out-fund them. Let's out-resource them. Let's outlast them. Let's outdo them with our own presence. That's itqan. That is excellence in work. We have the resources, we have the potential, and we have to look inside ourselves and understand that Allah has given us something precious to unlock within us. But they don't hate Islam more than we love it. And each and every single one of us that claims to be in pursuit of Allah's pleasure, show me how that is in your community work. Stop waiting for other people to appreciate you and set standards for you. And I should end with this because I usually would like to draw people's attention to the volunteers and say, make sure you thank the volunteers on your way out. They've done an extraordinary job, mashallah, tabarakallah. This is not license. I want to be clear. Everything I just said is not license for you to abuse volunteers and to not be grateful to people who do community work. Instead, what it is that we who choose to take upon ourselves the honor of doing the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do not count on anybody else's appreciation to continue to move us forward.
وكفى والصلاة والسلام على نبيه المصطفى. Words matter. Speech impacts people and changes lives. A good speech inspires the greatest of courage, motivates people to do the most amazing things. Our Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ مِنَ الْبَيَانِ لَسِحْرًا. Sometimes eloquence is like magic. It results in miraculous deeds. But just as speech can be used for good, it can also be used for evil. Instead of hope, it can inspire fear. Instead of love, hate. And instead of miraculous deeds, acts of sheer insanity and terror. Barely a month ago, we saw some of the worst manifestations of the impact of speech in the New Zealand massacre. The single largest massacre of Muslims by a lone terrorist in the Western world. But while that terrorist might have acted alone, his massacre did not come in a vacuum. It didn't just come out of the blue. That hatred that was found in that man was the result of speech. That hatred that was fomenting in his heart, it was the result of over a decade of systematic, incessant xenophobia, of corrupt politicians the world over, stoking the fans of hatred, of oligarchic medias fueling the fires of bigotry. Never before in our lifetimes, my dear brothers and sisters, have we seen the mainstreaming of such bigotry around the globe. And it is not just in America. Muslims follow the global situation. In countries as diverse as Brazil, with the election of Bolsonaro, in Hungary, with the election of Viktor Orban, with the far-right parties rising in Austria, in Greece, in Germany, gaining in popularity day by day. The racist Hindutva BJP government in India that is turning a blind eye, if not tacitly supporting the lynching of Muslims. In China, we have just heard our sister speak about the atrocities that the government is currently doing. Some of the worst human rights violations ever seen since World War II. Over 1 million Muslims with stories of systematic torture, mass rapes, and even organ harvesting. Muslims, we cannot be oblivious to the changing climate of global politics. The situation is getting dire by the day. And if you look at these different parties that span the globe, if you examine these politicians from South Africa to South America, from America all the way to Europe, from India to Israel, if you look at those politicians, they share a number of factors. Firstly, a dangerous mixture of far-right, nativist nationalism combined with a perverted and skewed understanding of religion. It's not pure nationalism, it's not pure religion. It is an unhealthy combination of the two. Secondly, an opposition to immigrants, especially from countries that have a darker skin color than the skin color that they happen to have. And thirdly, a paranoia bordering on the ludicrous, if not conspiratorial, that these minorities that exist within our societies, that these minorities that exist within their own lands, they are the source of most of the problems. They are working against the interest of the nation. They are a fifth column that will betray the nation at large. This is of their conspiratorial tones. And while they vary in details and intensity, the single factor that is consistent in all of these parties around the globe and combines them in their unique intensity to a similar level is their hatred of Islam and their targeting of Muslims. Many academics in religious studies departments and political science areas, many academics are writing papers pointing out the similarities between the rhetoric of anti-Semitism in Europe 100 years ago and the rhetoric of Islamophobia today. And don't forget what happened because of that rhetoric 100 years ago. You cannot have a massacre, you cannot undertake a genocide, you cannot have a Holocaust without a systematic campaign to dehumanize a minority within your own ranks. And we are currently seeing that systematic dehumanization. Just last week, my dear brothers and sisters, just last week, we saw one of the most vile and cowardly examples of all of this coming together when the bully in the White House tweeted a video of 9/11 along with a picture of Ilhan Omar, implying somehow that she was trivializing, if not supporting, that tragedy. Muslims, let us understand what is going on here. Let us understand very clearly the game that is being played. The so-called leader of the free world, the president of the greatest nation that is in this world right now, the most powerful country, the president lashing out barely a few weeks after the New Zealand massacre, knowing full well that the shooter of that massacre looks up to him. The shooter wrote a manifesto that praised the president as being a role model of the vision that he had. He knows his word has impact. We have seen the impact of those words. The president lashes out in an environment that is already toxic, and he tweets, no, not just a tweet, he pins the tweet on his Twitter against a new congresswoman, a young lady, a muhajjiba, an immigrant of African origin, a Muslima, knowingly lying, intentionally smearing, wanting to ride that wave of bigotry, which ironically her speech was pointing out. And here, let me pause for a second, because, side tangent here, we do have some inexperienced youngsters amongst us who criticize Sister Ilhan and other activists in the field for various issues and alliances, causes that politicians support that might not line up with our Islamic teaching. And look, no one is claiming that Muslim politicians and Muslim activists are infallible. No one is claiming that we should not correct and give nasiha to our Muslim brothers and sisters, especially when they are activists, and especially when they are in Congress, and especially when they are doing things that might possibly clash with our understandings of morality. But, my dear young men and women, there is a time and a place to voice such critiques, and to tell our youths of any disagreements we might have with these people. And anyone with an ounce of wisdom will know that now is not the time, and now is not the place to pick faults with Sister Ilhan and the other activists. Make no mistake about it, my dear brothers and sisters. Make no mistake about it. Ilhan Omar was attacked by our president because she represents Islam, because she is an icon of American Muslims. In this context, it is our duty to stand loudly and clearly, unequivocally and unconditionally in support of our sister in Islam, and as one of the main representatives of American Muslims in Congress, put my name down, hashtag I stand with Ilhan Omar, no doubt about it. But back to our topic. We like to mock the current president as if he is the cause of this rising Islamophobia. But what is truly terrifying is that he is not a cause, he is a symptom. Even if we get rid of Trump, even if the Congress impeaches him as he deserves in light of the Mueller report, even if he is impeached by Congress as he deserves to be impeached, that will not change the climate of Islamophobia, nor will it abate the rise of the far right around the globe. Muslims, we don't want another Christchurch massacre. We seek refuge in Allah from seeing the policies of the Chinese government that are currently being enacted on the Uyghur population. But in today's lecture, that joint dhikr takes on a much more profound meaning, because the verse itself is telling us that when you hear them saying bad things, when your heart is grieved, then you respond by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so today, inshallah ta'ala, as I conclude my lecture, and in light of all of the Islamophobia, in light of all of the xenophobia, in light of all of the hatred, we will turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and from the depths of our heart and from the bottom of our souls, with the utmost sincerity, we will obey the commandment of Allah, and we will respond to that hatred by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will say Allahu Akbar in a unified voice, in a voice of unison that will shake the halls of this convention center and send a message to the rest of the world that no matter what you do, you cannot break our spirit of Islam. Are you ready to join me? Allahu Akbar!
Allahu Akbar!
We can do better than that. Allahu Akbar!
Allahu Akbar!
One last time. Let's make the walls shake. Allahu Akbar! Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Quand je suis malade, c'est tout à mon comprimé. Les autres filles, je les ai passées. De mon amour, je suis animé. Sans toi, ma vie pourrait basculer. Je t'aime comme